You're listening to Crashes, Claims, and Clarity, hosted by Darrell Burrow, a Georgia-based personal injury attorney with over 30 years of experience and founder of Burrow and Associates. With a background in both legal strategy and compassionate client care, Darrell has helped over 10,000 individuals and families navigate life after injury. Guided by his Christian faith and a deep sense of justice, he brings expert insight, personal stories, and powerful interviews to every episode. If you're looking for truth, support, and clarity in the aftermath of an accident, this is your place. This is Crashes, Claims, and Clarity.
Well, welcome everybody to another episode of Crashes, Claims, and Clarity. I am Darrell Burrow, your host, the owner of the law firm of Burrow and Associates. Today, we are joined by a remarkable leader creating real change across our state here in Georgia. Richard Hicks is the CEO and president of Inspiredu, a nonprofit organization dedicated to expanding opportunities for children and helping families strengthen their socioeconomic future through digital literacy and community support. Under Richard's leadership, Inspiredu has served thousands of families and given thousands of devices, built powerful partnerships with more than 150 Fortune 500 companies. He's been featured on Kelly Clarkson and been recognized across the city of Atlanta and our state here in Georgia for his amazing work and impact that he has had. Richard, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Burrow, for having me.
Well, listen, we're all excited to jump right into the story. Tell me first what some early experience or influence was that set you on a path of this vision of digital literacy and community support.
So a lot of my background is in technology, and I do a lot around technology for school. When I was coming up, my father worked 28 years at Georgia Power. He bought us our first Acer computer back in the early 90s, right around 92, 91, 92. And it was a pretty big device, a big old CRT monitor and everything. The migration to technology and my passion towards it was really onsetting when I saw how a lot of things that we were going to be doing within my home with my parents. My dad would always have us typing papers. He would always want us to work on our typing, keyboarding, and things like that. And also when I ended up going to college, my dad bought me my first Brother word processor because he said, you're going to be typing your own papers and you're going to be getting your own ink and you're going to learn these things. And it's all on that device. And so that really planted that seed to get me more passionate about technology. And through the years, I developed a calling for it where I worked at Georgia Military a number of years, helping and learning under the staff and the leadership there around how important technology was in education, and then helping to build the infrastructure there and meeting a lot of great people along the way that had passion around technology and took me under their wing. And that fueled me to be able to be the type of leader to come and work in the nonprofit space. I entered the nonprofit space around September 25th, 2007.
What was that moment that you realized that, hey, Inspire EDU needed to be created and, oh my gosh, it's me that needs to do that?
Whenever I saw that the community had a lack of just basic computer devices, basic resources like that, we needed to create an organization and we needed to create a community that the digital divide was sort of being talked about. It was no different than not having food. I like to think of Inspiredu as the technology version of the food bank because we provide that technology to the community that provides that basic need. And when I saw sort of the disparity in people getting connected, people having the device to connect, and then seeing how our resources for education was going online. So Inspiredu, I feel like out of the birth of it came from the community and the need for it. And the community and any crisis that you're in is going to basically birth a solution. And Inspiredu is that solution.
Yeah. As long as you've got the right leaders to step up and do that, that's for sure.
That's right.
I know that you served thousands of people, I think even within the first year. What did that experience teach you about the real needs here in our state, here in Georgia, when you saw that really immediate impact?
So we have served over 10,000 total. I went back and looked at the numbers. I'm like, over 10,000. We have been in this community for a very long time serving learners. And I always go back to the learner that we've gotten the stories from. That storytelling and impact has always been sort of my guiding light when it comes to making sure that Inspire EDU is doing exactly what the community needs. You can pull quantity of numbers, you can pull all of those different components, but your story is sort of the best story to be told. And when it comes back rich, that allows you to be able to know you're in the right spot. And looking at your data, Inspire EDU, we let the data and the impact that we collect, it tells the story on how we should present, future data, how we should basically message ourselves. And when we've served all of these learners and they've come back with the stories, because we're always story collecting to try to figure out how can we better reach the community. The stories that come back, I mean, Mr. Burrow, it is unprecedented to see just how much it changes a person's life. And it makes them feel even more empowered because they have that resource and they're able to move forward. They're able to do some of the things that they were not able to do before in paying their bills or doing notes, because a lot of them have sort of, faith-based backgrounds, and they were writing their notes down for church, and now they're doing it on the computer. They translate it and they do it on the computer, and they're able to go and sort of create a sort of library for themselves. And I like it when people are archiving their lives, because it's like creating your own electronic time capsule, and you're learning as you're going along. And one of the other components when it comes to children, these students are being connected way more than we would have ever expected. A lot of technology that we are using and that we're putting out towards them, they're getting even more connected to it. And so it is vital that the family learning program, which that's what we have within the Inspire EDU, our family learning program creates sort of a ecosystem so that this family can support the child as they're going through and they're doing their work, and that student is thriving. And this is where our learners help us to be able to guide the light of what we should be teaching them.
Okay. You just mentioned kind of a couple general themes, impacts that you see with people being able to digitize notes and a family getting involved with supporting a child. Do you have maybe one or two specific examples, and it could be, child or adult, that made a lasting impact on you, maybe with a few more specific details?
So we partner with a organization that serves grandparents who've taken on parental roles. And the grandparents, when they have come up through their time, they didn't really do a lot around the device and the computers. They were trying to do a lot of things handwritten. And so their student was, of course, in the classroom and doing a lot of work through class. The teachers were trying to communicate. And so the grandparent, not having any digital skills, not really
Right.
knowing, went through our digital skills course. And so having that grandparent go through the course, start learning sort of the do's and don'ts, but also some basic skills to be able to support their child, because now they're a parental figure for this child who
Right.
is their grandchild. They're the parental figure. The parent was no longer available. And what that did was that allowed them to get closer to the work. And of course, having limited education, they really needed the patience to teach them. And so as you're trying to create family learning, you got to have patience. That's the good old saying, patience is a virtue. You got to have that patience to teach them to come along and learn these new things. And so the grandparent was able to learn the basic skills to support the child's learning. So the grandparent was communicating with the teacher. The child was actually dependent on the grandparent to help them with the homework, because now that they have this knowledge, they can be a real beneficial adult learning partner to the child. And the child was able to basically have that sort of support so that they can do good in school. Being able to have the whole household to be technology proficient is important. My two stepsons, they were very technology proficient, but we were too as parents. And so what you want to do is make sure that you are embracing that whole household and making sure that they have that sort of technology knowledge. And that allows that sort of connection to take place. The family learning program is near and dear to my heart. And I definitely think that it is something we have to build on as we're growing our community.
That's fantastic. So we know that you have partnered with many Fortune 500 companies. Tell us what message really resonated with those companies to have them partner with InspireEdu.
So what really resonates with these companies is how I correlate the food bank and the technology, because it is now critical for folks to be able to have that technology and to be able to talk to them about, if we don't make the proper investments within our community with providing the technology devices, the training, then we're going to have a weak pipeline to send to these organizations to continue to have sort of a bright future. And I have to honestly tell you, a lot of the organizations and companies we have in Georgia, they are very, very philanthropic. They support the community with an unwavering sense of urgency. They want to make sure that the community has exactly the resources it needs. And also, they're within the community because they make themselves part of the community and they're at the events, they're doing those sort of things. So being able to see sort of a organization that promotes technology and training like we do fits right in line as they're trying to grow their technology footprint. And what we want to do is be able to provide a conduit so that this gives that device that's within the company, we want to give it a second life to make sure that it can thrive within the community through our program, and being able to make sure that this child can not just sit in the desk at this local elementary, middle school, or high school, but there's a pathway to get to your Georgia Pacifics, your Coca-Colas, your other organizations who are in Georgia and thriving. We have to make sure that we make that sort of pathway from that classroom to sitting at one of those office desks, and not from a classroom to the penal system.
Gotcha. Gotcha. What do you see as some of the biggest barriers for minority and low-income families? Certainly finances, but what would you view as those barriers?
I think a lot of barriers, one comes with consistency. We've got to make sure that things are done in a way that makes training, resources around those trainings are available at all times, because we're moving fast. I mean, we're moving fast in this world. We have to make sure our community is not left behind. We also got to make sure that we don't get trampled by some of that stuff. So what I like to do is make sure that we're doing the training, and I always encourage to make sure that we're keeping some consistency around the work that we're doing. We're not doing one-hit wonders and trickling off, or doing things that are not investments to the community and it's not important to the community. And then we're listening to them, because what that does, that allows them to really connect. Trust is everything. Trust is everything. Being able to have that trust of the community and being able to have them come out to your work and be able to see you as a benefit, that is a nonprofit's lifeline. And what we want to do is make sure that we're having consistency around our work. And then it raises that awareness. And when that awareness is raised, it allows them to understand that this is a resource that is available to them. And, we want to also make sure that we're eliminating that barrier, that there are mechanisms that can pull you out of poverty. It is not a destination that you have to sit in. We're here to give a hand up. And if we build that consistency, we eliminate those barriers, and we make sure that the technology, the connectivity is there. We know that sometimes you may have to subsidize and pay for some of these things, but we're going to try to see how we can get a road to help you to earn that, to get there. It just has to take more time, consistency, and patience.
I know that you serve on some advisory boards. How do those roles help your work at Inspire EDU?
Advisory boards are always a good way to talk with your other colleagues, collaborate with other organizations that are just as passionate as you are. And they help me to bring back a better sense of collaboration back to Inspire EDU. But also, it's like having your ear to the ground on what's going on within the community, what's going on within the companies that are making transitions and things like that. It's always good to serve on those advisory boards, to be closer to the conversations around what's happening in the nonprofit space, what's happening in the corporate space. They help you to really hone in on where you should be focusing your time. And this is where, our time is the most precious thing in the world. We don't get that back. And it's even shorter in a nonprofits world because you're not really buttoned up with a whole bunch of folks. You can't do that. You want to make sure that you're utilizing all of your volunteers and all of you have your staff members and things like that. You want to make sure your time is spent wisely. And a lot of these advisory boards and, even committees, being able to be on those help you to keep your ear to the ground and be able to focus your time on the right things.
It sounds like that's all part of your building that consistency and building that trust that you just talked about a minute ago.
Absolutely. That's the lifeline. I mean, if you have to go spend time anywhere, you need to make sure that it's the right type of time and being able to develop your personality, who I am, but also be able to bring it to Inspire EDU to develop the team because their personalities and where they want to grow professionally, that's important to Inspire EDU as well. We want to make sure everyone is basically getting a benefit out of being a part of our organization.
And I know you've been a leader for a long time and talking about developing your team. Tell us about a leadership lesson that you sort of learned the hard way.
Oh, wow. It's almost like running into a burning building and not realizing you covered in gasoline. I mean, you got to be mindful of, some of those things that are happening. And I remember coming into the nonprofit space, I had to learn that pretty quickly. I was trying to do everything. I was not delegating. I was basically thinking, you know what, I'm going to get this done and I'm going to do this way. And what I found out is that nonprofit work was a marathon and not a sprint. And I needed to make sure that I hone in on bringing the right people to the table, bringing the volunteers and utilizing them the correct way, relying on other people and their knowledge and not just thinking that I knew it all, because sometimes I'm going to lead you down the wrong path. And what I don't want to do is do that sort of thing. And I lean on my boards and council, and there's been times where I've made decisions and I wasn't quite confident that they were going to be the right one. So I seek counsel to say, hey, what y'all think about this? And they can tell me, be honest to me. I can take some good criticism like, Richard, you need to be in somewhere else. You are out here in left field all by yourself and I don't even know where you're going with it. And so that's the thing that I like to do, is make sure that I seek counsel so that my leadership, because I've been in those situations where I have tried to make a decision and it was not the right one in the past. And you learn your lesson from it. You're supposed to take your lumps, and I took my lumps very well from that, and set myself on a new track.
Good. So we mentioned that you appeared on the Kelly Clarkson show. What was that experience like, kind of behind the scenes?
I tell you what, show business is one of those things where I talked about the fast pace, but they be moving at a blazing pace. They, you're moving around, you're going in, this place and that place, you're trying to get makeup, you're trying to get all that and stuff. And the one thing about it is it is good work, and you see it. I have the utmost respect, and working with the staff on the Kelly Clarkson show was truly an honor. They were great at what they did. They guided me the right way. They basically said the thing that sometimes you have a hard time being is yourself. They said, go on there and be yourself. And what you're looking at through a computer screen or streaming on a show is a person. I like when people break it down into that sense, because I want to talk to them the same way I'm talking to you, as if I'm talking to a regular person who is basically having a conversation like we're supposed to do in life and fellowship. Think about all the structure, the bells and whistles, the lights and fanfare, even though it's hard to, because when they got them lights beaming down and they looking at you, you're like, man, I'm on what? I'm on national television. I mean, but I had to block a lot of that out of my mind, but it was really nice to just really be relaxed, talk with Kelly Clarkson and share that passion for Texas and barbecue and everything, and being able to understand sort of the colleagues that were the finalists as well of the Good Neighbor of the Year. A lot of the other nonprofits I got to know who did very, very, very good work. We became family. We have a text channel now and everything where we collaborate, and the journey of life through that show helped to connect me better with others who are doing good work, but also it created a Kelly effect here in Georgia where we were able to be seen by other buckets and nonprofits here.
Right.
And we wanted to be able to really galvanize the community and let them know that we were proud to represent Georgia.
That's wonderful. I understand you've got some family property here in Georgia. Tell me a little bit about that. How does that being out there, if you go out there, you keep.
Yeah, so my hometown is Milledgeville, Georgia. It's former capital of Georgia because a lot of people didn't know Milledgeville is the former capital of Georgia. At Georgia Military College where I worked in the old Capitol building. So the
Okay.
old Capitol building is when they had redone it in 2000, and they had the first legislative session there when they had remodeled it. So I really enjoyed seeing that project, but that's my home. And a lot of the service that my family would do within the community, the Hickses were always known at feeding folks. We got a 16-acre farm down there in Milledgeville. I have 4 goats and 1 donkey, but the years that come through that farm resonates with the soul of how our family was, the family of Hickses. It goes all the way back to slave times where the Hickses and, were slaves, and they were gifted the property, and it was part of a larger piece. The family was able to really build out sort of what we wanted to be to the community. So we would farm, we would do things there, and we would invite people to come up to eat. And those who didn't have any food, you come out there to the Hicks household, we're going to make sure your belly's full before you go home. And that was my family. And a lot of the service and nonprofit stems from my family and how we were to the community down there. And so I still, to this day, we have our old home that I work on projects that we remodel and keep things going, me and my brothers, and we work to try to keep that essence of our ancestors healthy so that we can be able to pass on what we've learned and be able to really use that as sort of a remembrance of why service is so important.
So where do you see Inspire EDU, or what's your vision for the next 3 to 5 years?
So my vision for Inspire EDU is for us to continue to grow and create what we call digital hubs around the state of Georgia so that we can really push Georgia into more of a state that's providing digital opportunities for everyone. And I'm not just saying that to have some sort of new tagline. I'm saying that because the state of Georgia is a really strong state. And seeing how it's got built out for infrastructure, we have a lot of businesses, we have big campuses around the state that is employing thousands of people. And what we want to do is Inspire EDU is wanting to be sort of that conduit where we can serve the community in a technology space and digital skills, students, their families, even being able to have sort of a work readiness component where adults who are looking to upskill, maybe in transition, whatever it may be, they don't cycle out. They can come in and have sort of a holding pattern of getting training and being able to have that confidence so that they can get their next job. I want Inspire EDU to be that beacon of hope that they can lean on so that it's not something that fizzles out. People wonder where they got to go or if they can go anywhere. We want to be able to make sure that they have a place to go, and we want to build a real training ecosystem that is central to the community and not just, something that they have to pay for. We want to make sure that it's there for those folks who are in that low to moderate income that are coming in these underserved so that they can earn these skills to get a job. I don't believe in sprinkling a whole bunch of money around the place to think that that's going to fix the problem. What we have to do is make sure we educate. You teach a person to fish. We've talked about this in our old sayings. When you teach them to fish, they learn they can catch as many as they want. But if we're sitting here going and fishing for them and then we're dumping it out, what are we doing? All we're doing is basically being sort of a provider. What happens to us whenever they need to eat and we're not available? Then they're not going to know how to fish. What we want to do is teach people how to get these skills throughout Georgia and how to get connected so that it can take them to that next level. We want to get people connected and trained so that we can have Georgia's economy continue to thrive. And I want Inspire EDU to be a part of that process.
Richard, for anybody that sees this or hears this, how can they reach you to find out more about your organization or lend their support?
Thank you so much. And Ms. Burrow, this has been a great opportunity to talk about our work and what we do. We would love for you to go to www.iuatl.org. We have our volunteer tab, our newsletter. Follow us on social media on Facebook at Inspire EDU ATL, on Instagram at Inspire EDU ATL, and on LinkedIn at Inspire EDU ATL. All of those can connect us because we're always updating social media. You can also find it on the links on our website at www.iuatl.org. Connect with us. We're always needing help. We're always putting out information, and we're always letting you know about the impact that we're having within the community.
Thank you so much, Richard, for joining me. The incredible work you're doing is just amazing. Your vision, your heart, commitment to the families in this state. I appreciate the difference you're making in our communities across the state. And I hope people do take a look at your organization in more depth and that they do support you in some meaningful way. It has been an honor to have you on, and I appreciate you joining me.
Thank you so much.
You've been listening to Crashes, Claims, and Clarity with attorney Darrell Burrow, founder of Burrow & Associates and a trusted advocate for over 30 years. If today's episode helped bring clarity or hope after an accident, be sure to follow, subscribe, and leave a review. To connect with Darrell or learn more, visit legalatlanta.com. Join us next week for another honest, faith-centered conversation about recovery, rights, and moving forward after injury.